my shoes and out the door. 5, I'm alive. 6, 7, 8, feeling great.
And there we are, we're recording. So here we go. Welcome everyone to Beyond Your Wildest Genes podcast. I am Dr. Wanda Lee McPhee and I will be hosting our episode today along with my very special guest, world-renowned wellness expert, Dr. Roger Sahoury. Dr. Roger is the author of the new #1 international best-selling book, The Gladiators Guide to Corporate Health, a battle plan to slay the 7 archenemies of corporate profitability. Dr. Roger Sahoury is the founder of Above and Beyond Holistic Wellness Center. He's a leader in the field of chiropractic, holistic health, and wellness. Dr. Sahoury has been featured on CBS, NBC, Fox, and the ABC News networks in the United States. He is an educator of wellness care to many Fortune 100 corporations and has been written up in Forbes Magazine, named as one of New Jersey's top doctors for the last decade, and winner of the Patient's Choice Awards. Outside of his work, he spends his free time with his beautiful wife, Christina, and 2 adorable girls, Sienna and Ella. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Sahoury.
Thank you for having me, Wanda.
Well, it is sort of our opportunity to get to know you a little better to start with. So I know from your bio that you had a motorcycle accident that was a significant life-changing experience for you. And that really puts you on this road around natural health and healing. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got into this business?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when I was younger, I was studying to become a medical doctor, and it was, you know, my parents' dream for me to become something very educated in this world, because, you know, my parents brought us to this country to give us the American dream, and my father was a construction guy, and he didn't want me to get into that type of work. I mean, he used to take me to work with him, Wanda, to the point where my hands would bleed, and my mom would see me come home with my hands bleeding. She'd be like, "What are you doing to our child?" And my father would say, "I'm teaching him to not do what I do for a living. I want him to really just stay focused and be educated and really make something of himself. I'd like to see him become a doctor, a lawyer, or something of that sort." So I decided to go down the road of becoming a doctor. I had medical doctors in my family, and as I was studying to become a doctor, one day I was riding my motorcycle down this highway in New Jersey, and as I was riding my motorcycle down the highway, my friend suddenly got off the exit. I pulled over onto the shoulder of the road, and as I pulled over onto the shoulder of the road, I'm looking over to my right-hand side, and I see my friends walking over towards me. And as they're walking towards me, my one friend Mike's hands go rising up into the sky, and his face begins to change. And as that happens, whack, I got hit from behind from a car at about 35 miles an hour, which threw me off my motorcycle. I hit the pavement. My helmet came off. My eye got split open. I herniated 6 discs in my spine. I bulged 3, so I had 9 disc issues going on. My knee was split open, of course, bruises, scrapes, fractures, all those other factors. And I was in the hospital for a period of time. Then they had me on painkillers, muscle relaxers, anti-inflammatory steroids, everything that you needed for crisis care. But, you know, how long could you be on that for? So I come out of the hospital, and I'm seeing all these doctors, orthopedists, neurologists, or special surgeons who didn't even know where to begin with me, pain management who just kept injecting me in my spine with all these different type of injections. And every single day I would drop down on my knees and I would face plant, and my parents would literally peel me up off the ground like a banana peel, Wanda. I became very depressed. They put me on antidepressants, and I became suicidal from those medications. And I didn't want to live anymore. And I was really planning my death. And then I was led to a corrective-based chiropractor who taught me the truth about how the body functions and operates. And he gave me hope, and he gave me light, and I went under his care, and within 3 months of care, I had a glimpse of hope. Within 6 months, I had more. Within a year, I regained my life back. So I really believe that God led me to this, and you know, I didn't choose this profession; it chose me. And then from there, it just became a mission for me to help people like I was helped. And then after seeing so many people, I mean, we see approximately 700 people in our clinic a week, and when you see so many people in a week, and then you say, oh well, I'd like to make an even bigger difference. Well, then it was about tackling the giants, which is the corporations, where there are so many people in these corporations. And if we could make a bigger impact in these corporations, we can make a bigger impact in society and humanity and in the United States of America to start. And then, of course, you know, reaching out to the world. But we do have a very sick country here, and it's about time that we make a bigger impact. And I wanted to be one of the people who could stand there as a gladiator to make an impact.
Well, you say that a powerful metaphor for a successful corporation is an optimized human body. So there's a real connection between the health of an individual and the health of a corporation. So can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I always talk about the most powerful metaphor for a successful corporation is an optimized human body, as you just said, where the relationship between the spine and the nervous system is maximized. Just as the leadership of a corporation must be in tune with the needs and capabilities of its limbs, Wanda, the nervous system is the master controller of all living cells, tissues, and organs, as you know, orchestrating and coordinating all cellular function. So as an organization, when leadership is ineffective or individual members are unhealthy, the body of the business is compromised. So alternatively, when the overall wellness of an organization is evaluated and treated holistically, a company can minimize mechanical and structural problems while maximizing culture and profitability. So when we take a look at the human body, and I'll interpret this right now, we want to correlate each functioning organ to the function within a company. So for example, neurological, this is the brain or the center of the company where all creativity starts and flows from. Then you have your respiratory system. This is how the organization will breathe, the general ebbs and flows of the company, and how individuals move as a team. Then you got your cardiovascular. This is the heart and soul of the company. I refer to this as the why behind the mission, vision, and passion of the company. Then you have your digestive system. This is how everything gets processed within inside of the company, from work to orders to communications. All processing must flow smoothly. Then you have your immune system. This is the protection mechanism, right? So this is the protection mechanism for the company, and this includes both physical protection as well as protection of intellectual property and work product. Then you got your muscular system. This is how everything gets fulfilled, the physical motion and activity of the company. And then you have your overall health, and this is when the company looks when it's looking at the company as a whole, then you could determine the overall health of the organization. And that's what I mean by that. So
companies can actually increase their profitability by increasing the happiness level of their employees. Tell us a little bit more about how that connects.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, just think about this for a moment. If you woke up and you had to go into your place of work, and whenever you got there, you felt that you were underappreciated, or you felt that you were just getting that all they did was focus on the things that weren't right that you did inside of your workplace, instead of focusing on all the little victories that you've done and how you add to the team, would that shift the way that you perform inside of your workplace?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So if we can begin to appreciate the people who work for us and begin to celebrate their little victories, or acknowledge, what they've done, for your company, they'll become more productive, and your company will become more profitable. Every single day when I go into my wellness center, right, and we run I have a robust team, and what I do is I always look for what's right with inside of the individuals that work for my company, and I make them aware of that. Or when I come in, it's just about just greeting them, with some love, maybe giving them a hug, telling them how amazing that they are, or is there anything that I could do to add to their lives? When you begin to acknowledge them and that you care about them and you care about their life and you begin to put people first, they begin to put you first. So, if you've ever heard of this little school this little tiny school in Boston, called Harvard, they did a study, and in that study, they said this. They said that, in order to create success, happiness is really the key. See, happiness can create success, but success doesn't create happiness. So it's all about creating happier people and a happier environment and creating a culture. And when you have that culture that's very happy and wellness oriented, you're going to have a productive company, you're going to have peak performance happening, and you're going to have profitability happening for the company.
Well, and obviously, if your employees are experiencing pain or illness or a lack of well-being, it's pretty hard for them to really express that happiness at its full level as well.
Absolutely. And that definitely falls into one of our arch enemies, our 7 arch enemies.
So in your book, you talk about wellness programs for corporations. And, a lot of people think, oh, that's going to cost money, or my corporation, a lot of our listeners are probably employees, and they're thinking, how do I bring this to my company? They're going to think it's just a money expense, but really it can help them make money. So how do you help them sort through that?
Absolutely. I mean, well, we have a whole robust system that can really show them on how to do some of the things that cost absolutely nothing, and some that are, of course, have a cost to them, but it's saving them money, because absenteeism in the workplace today is costing a company, a corporation, 35% of base payroll. And presenteeism is costing them actually 7.5 times more than that. And what that means is having employees that actually show up, but they're not even present. Right? They're head somewhere else. They're not feeling well. They're frustrated. They're stressed. Well, that's costing them money. I mean, how productive are they? So when you can get a company running well and syncing together and really beginning to meet employees at where they are, and starting always at the top with the leadership. So when you start with the executives first, then and you teach them how to become healthy and how to begin to engage and work with their employees as well, it'll maximize the whole performance within inside of the workplace.
And that's really what your book is about, The Gladiator's Guide to Corporate Health. And you talk about 7 arch enemies of corporate profitability. So I think we're touching on some of those. So let's just launch into that. What are these 7 arch enemies?
Well, you got stress. That's one of the arch enemies, which we know is huge, right? Stress is everything. I mean, stress leads to heart attacks. It leads to heart disease. It leads to cancer. It leads to all types of sickness within inside of an individual. And imagine if you have stress inside of the workplace. It's creating a cancerous environment. It's creating an environment that's about to fail, that isn't going to begin to function at its optimum best. You got sick care focus. You got absenteeism. You got presenteeism. You got obesity, which is an epidemic today, right? You got mental health issues, and you got chronic pain. And all of these are the arch enemies. And they're all creating a deficit when it comes to profitability within inside of the workplace.
Well, I mean, we aren't going to have time to talk about all of that in the depth that really we should be digging into. So people will be able to get the show notes at the end and grab your book. But let's start with stress. You say in the book there's 7 kinds of stresses. So let's talk a bit about that. Everybody can relate to stress.
Absolutely. So you got physical stressors, you got chemical stressors, you got emotional stressors, you got mental stressors, you got spiritual stressors, you got social stressors, and you have financial stressors, right? And all of these can really begin to impact someone's health. And the way that that not only are they functioning at their corporation, but how are they functioning as an individual? How is it affecting them with their relationships at home? How's it creating, relationships with inside of every component and aspect of their life and well-being?
And I mean, life has stress. So being able to both manage that stress when it happens, whatever area it's in, and being able to increase your resiliency to better handle the stress that does come your way are parts of your corporate wellness strategies. So it's very different when you talk about corporate wellness than maybe some of the other programs are out there. So what is the biggest difference in your approach?
Well, I mean, the biggest difference in our approach is, number one, is that we are definitely going to create a happy environment, right? A culture-based type of environment. We're going to create an environment where people are actually being engaged. We're going to teach them how to become motivated and actually make decisions properly. We're going to teach them how to begin to plan and become more goal-oriented. We're going to create assessment tools to be able to see where are they, because every single person, they're not the same. Just like there are no 2 fingerprints that are alike, there are no 2 people that are alike. So when you begin to take a look at a company, you need to begin to understand the individuals within inside of the company, and you need to be able to know how to communicate with each individual in the company. So in order to get maximum performance out of people, you need to be able to understand where they are, and you also need to have people really get on board to saying, you know what, all right, it's time for me to make an impact on my own self and take ownership of that as well. And then we're going to teach them how to begin to connect and begin to, to share as well. And what I mean by that is, culture revolves around connection and sharing. So the culture can motivate individuals in ways that no other, programs or systems can. So we really want to begin to create them to connect and share their greatness that's occurring, and begin to celebrate those type of things. Then we got to create the type of training and education process, and then show them how they could have access, because you want to create the least amount of roadblocks. So we have different types of tools. So for example, we have our Gladiator application, which will actually get the employees out of their seats every single hour to do a stretch break, a movement, a breath break, something that's going to motivate, inspire them, like a reset button for them. That's going to be something that we do. We're going to have a value system where we're going to begin to understand the employees, what's most important to them and what's least satisfied. And the same exact thing for the executives. What's most important, what's least satisfied. And then when you begin to understand where the company is, you can see where the holes are. You can begin to plug them, and you can begin to create the right type of approach in order to get from exactly where they are to where they want to be and increase more profitability, but also doing it by being happy. Happiness is really where it comes from.
Well, and one of the things that is probably kind of timely, because this episode's going to be airing early in 2017, is your section around obesity and the challenges that both individuals and corporations face in North America. I don't think probably we could even limit it to North America anymore, but around the world, because people tend to be overweight. So you have a fat loss component in a number of your programs.
Yes.
How does that work?
Yes, we do. We actually have multiple components when it comes to that, and it always comes down to the individual as well. But we do have customized program, and one of our programs is called the Lighten Up Fat Loss System, for example. And what tends to happen is that women will tend to lose anywhere between 20 to 35 pounds in a short span, in just over a 63-day span. Men will lose anywhere between even 30 to 50 pounds. It's even a greater loss. And what ends up happening is their hormones begin to get balanced. What we do is we test them out, and we look for 5 major organs that are stopping them from fat loss. Once we're able to figure that out, we're able to customize an entire program around that. So exactly what they need in order to help bring their hormones back into balance, help detoxify their body, exactly what nutrients their body needs, because there are no two people who need exactly the same exact type of nutrients or the same amount of them as well. And then we put them on a program that puts their body in what we call a state of autophagy, which means the body is going to begin to attack that stubborn fat within inside of the body, and then rid itself of all the toxins from the body as well. And then the body will also begin to lose that weight within the first 40 days. And after that, the next 21 days, we're working on resetting the hormones and balancing it out, and then showing them what foods they're sensitive to, which ones they're not. And then at the end of the day, they're going to have a blueprint of exactly who they are, and they're going to be able to follow that for the rest of their life. They're going to know what foods work for them and what foods work against them. And then we have a one-on-one. We have coaching for them. We hold their hand throughout the entire process. It's doctor supervised. I mean, it's outstanding, and it's really making a huge impact. I mean, we've done tens of thousands of people with just such amazing success, and we're ready to bring it to the big corporations now.
So, Dr. Roger, that program, for some of our listeners who may not be involved in a corporate wellness opportunity like you're bringing through the Gladiators, but is this an individual program that people could access?
Absolutely. All they have to do is go to wellnessanswerman.com. That's WELLNESS answerman.com. And they could get some information on that there, or they can just call our 1-800 number, which is 1-844-Dr. and they could speak to somebody live who could actually walk them through the system as well.
Okay, and we'll put those in the show notes as well for people, so that nobody's crashing their car when they're trying to drive and listen to this at the same time.
Yep.
We don't need to create any accidents out there.
Yep,
so,
absolutely.
Back to the corporations for a moment, though. Health does equal wealth. I mean, as a small business owner or medium-sized business owner, we all see the impact of unhealthy employees on business. I'm sure that only escalates in larger corporations, not gets smaller.
Absolutely.
So what can we inform our corporate executives about? So why should they care about the wellness program?
It's really important as a leader to begin to stand the ground as a gladiator and begin to represent what the corporation is really about so everyone else can follow suit. When you could begin to show that you're the example, begin to take care of yourself, and then begin to care about everybody else that's below you in the corporation and begin to show them leadership skills, begin to show them how to become healthy, begin to be able to communicate with them properly, begin to put them first as well and their needs first. When you can begin to do that, the company's just going to get healthier. So it's really important to do that. I mean, when you take a look at it, when you take a look at a person as an individual, we all say that, if somebody is wealthy, they're not healthy. But if they're healthy, they're wealthy. It doesn't matter how much money you have. Health is about who you are as an individual, how you take care of your essence, because the amount of money you have doesn't determine whether or not cancer or heart disease is going to come and get you, is it?
Absolutely.
The answer, absolutely not, right? So it really comes down about being healthy and taking care of your health. When you're healthy, you become wealthy. And when you can do that with a smile, when you can do that with giving them some stress reduction techniques like, hey, I see here that, that you've been, really stressed. Why don't you just – how about just breathing? Have you tried to do that? I'll do that with you. How about we close our eyes right now and we take a deep breath in and out together, and you do that as a leader, right? Or one of the tools that I give people for stress reduction. This may sound really silly to you, Wando. Actually, it probably wouldn't sound silly to you, but it may sound silly to some of the listeners. But I say, be a kid again. As a kid, we used to blow up balloons, right? Well, I like to use the balloons as a tool, because when you have a balloon and you can begin to blow the stresses out of your body and into a balloon, you're getting it out of yourself. And if you can begin to do that over and over and over again, what's going to end up happening is you're going to feel a lot lighter. You're going to feel relaxed. Your body's going to go into a parasympathetic state. And if you had somebody from the leadership team, even recommend that for you to do and did it with you, I mean, that would be something that would be great as well.
Absolutely. That kind of cultural change does come from the top down. So it is really an imperative for the success of these kinds of programs that the leadership is not only involved, but that's the tone and the example. I think that's incredible strategy there.
Absolutely. And everyone has to understand the values of the company as well. And when everybody can really relate to the values of the companies, I mean, that's really, really important. I mean, for example, I mean, we have a value system, and then our top one, of course, is achieving optimal health. Then the other one is empowering the individuals and companies to operate at their peak, then explore innovation and creativity every day in every way. Another one is maintaining personal and professional integrity, respecting others, honoring individuality by meeting people where they are, achieving peak performance by putting people first, having freedom and fun, creating a mission-based workplace instead of a job-based environment. That's really an important one, not people coming into the corporation just because it's a job, but it becoming a real mission for them. And that's how it is in my center. It is a mission to serve humanity. And that's the exact same way that I would love to see that inside of corporations. And then embracing responsibility and dependability to create ultimate accountability. When you embrace responsibility and dependability yourself, you can create ultimate accountability. And that is really what it's about. It's about implementing that structure and making sure that everybody's on that same page, because many people aren't. They really aren't in these corporations. And I go into a lot of these companies, Wanda. I go into Fortune 100 companies. And I mean, just the littlest things. I mean, many of them don't know the values at all, within inside of the company. They don't even know their core values if you ask them that. And that's really essential to understand.
Absolutely. Thanks to everyone for listening. Beyond Your Wildest Genes podcast. Thanks to Dr. Roger Sahoury, author of The Gladiators Guide to Corporate Health, for joining with us today. We'll have all the links and the websites we've mentioned in the show notes as well. Any final thought or action step that you want to leave with our listeners?
Yes.
It's hard to pick just one. It's hard to pick one.
It really is. It really is. Begin to fly. And what I mean by that is, first, love yourself. So when you can begin to fly and love yourself, I mean, that's where it all begins. If you can just start out with something really simple like an I am affirmation, thinking of something happy and joyful every single day when you wake up in the morning, hugging and kissing your child when you wake up and when you go to bed and telling them that you love them, focusing on something that is right in your life instead of focusing on what's wrong, because it's so easy to focus on what's wrong. Begin to connect with you more, then you'll become more for everybody else. They always say put the oxygen mask on you first so you can take care of everyone else. So just begin to fly. Take care of yourself. Love yourself.
That's great advice. I think no matter what your situation, that's probably good advice that every single one of us could take right now. So on behalf of my partners, my co-hosts, Dr. Michael Akinfora and Dr. Noah DeCoyer, we appreciate you listening and subscribing to our podcast. If you hear something you like, please share it with others. And as always, subscribing is free. And please check out our website, www.beyondyourwildestgenes.com, for links to other great natural health and wellness information. We have a weekly newsletter we'd like to invite you to subscribe to, and check out some of our free ebooks and gifts on our site as well. Thank you for helping us to create a healthier planet. Please have a great week, and we hope you listen in again next time. Thanks for joining us.